So it's fast number 3 of my 12-week fasting challenge. And today we're going to talk about fasting and metabolism. So just for reference, it's about 20 hours into this week's fast. Should be again another 42 hours. Going strong, no problems. The sleep issue that I talked about in the first video did actually happen again. Was up most of the night. But again, I feel completely fine. I have plenty of energy. I don't feel sleep deprived. It's just something that happens when you fast sometimes. Anyway, so here we go, metabolism. Fasting is better than standard diet or calorie restriction dieting because of what it does to your metabolism. So we're gonna start with calorie restricted dieting, which is what most people do, and how that works. So let's say theoretically you have a 2,000 calorie a day maintenance diet. What I mean by that is you have to eat 2,000 calories a day to maintain your weight. And your weight is not where you'd like it to be. So you eat less than that, let's say 1,500. So now, in the course of the day, you're eating fewer calories, so you have a little bit less at breakfast, a little bit less at lunch, a little bit less at dinner, maybe a little less snacking in between, and you just keep doing that, and you lose weight. That is effective. You could also do by increasing your exercise, the amount of movement you're doing to burn more calories. But actually, like steady state cardio is actually really inefficient at that. Like, you have to run for like 45 minutes to burn off one excess cookie. So it's actually a really inefficient way of doing that. But that's a whole other video. Just know we're not talking about that today. Okay. So in the course of a week, 7 days, 2,000 calories a day, your normal maintenance diet is 14,000 calories a week. So if you take 500 calories a day out, that's 3,500 calories. So in the course of a week, your new calorie level is 10,500 calories a week. So you have a deficit and you're ideally losing weight. But now anybody who's done this knows that at a certain point you stop losing weight, you plateau. And the reason you plateau is because your body adjusts to the new calorie level. It basically slows your metabolism down, so you expend fewer calories during the day by your basic metabolic processes. And so once you hit that plateau, the only other option in this model is to lower your calories again. So now you go from, let's say, 1,500 calories a day to 1,000 calories a day, and you begin to lose weight again. And I want to say right now, I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just an explanation. If you're considering doing something like this, seek medical advice first. Okay, that's out of the way. So now you're down to 1,000 calories a day, which I do not recommend to anybody. It's not healthy. 1,000 calories a day, now you're doing 7,000 calories a week. You're at a pretty large deficit and you're gonna lose more weight until you plateau again. Well, guess what? So now you eat fewer calories a day. You can see where this is going. Eventually you're eating 0 calories a day, every day, and that's called starvation, and eventually you die. So that is what happens to your body, and that is why calorie restricted dieting is so problematic, why it really doesn't work for so many people in long term. Now, look at fasting. My model of fasting is I don't eat for about 42 hours. From dinner one day, no eating the next day, and then breakfast or lunch the day after. So it usually works out to 40 or 42 hours for me. What happens when you fast like that is actually your metabolism accelerates. It actually goes up, and it switches. You burn through most of your glucose, glycogen that's stored in your muscles. You don't have very much of that. And then your body begins to burn fat. And this is why it's helpful for losing body fat if that's your goal. But your metabolism actually speeds up to do this, which is, like I said, one of the things is I have all this extra energy, which is why I have difficulty sleeping on my first night of a fast. Like tonight, I'll sleep fine. But the first night, a lot of times I have difficulty sleeping because I have all this extra energy. Your body, one, metabolically switches to a different source of energy, which gives it more metabolic flexibility, is what they call it. And what essentially that means is things like hangry don't happen. You don't get hangry. Hangry is not a sign of not eating. It's a sign of a lack of metabolic flexibility. I think I've mentioned that before. But moving on. So now, if I don't eat for those 40 hours, I'm going to estimate that this 2,000 calorie a day model. So it's more than a day and a half. So we'll be generous. We'll say if I eat 2,000 calories a day in 24 hours, that's 2,000 calories. And I do 36 hours a day and a half, that's 3,000 calories plus a little bit more, but we'll just say 3,000 calories. So at the end of a week, 7 days, I've reduced my calorie expenditure to 11,000. So slightly above, but on par with the 10,500 per week. So we're restricting the calories about the same amount per week. But my metabolism didn't slow down, which means I'm actually burning the same amount of calories every day instead of slowly burning less and less calories per day. So that makes it sustainable over time. And since my metabolism didn't slow down, basically I can continue this method and do it indefinitely. And as long as I maintain my normal level of calorie, my maintenance level of calorie intake on the days I am eating, I will continue to lose weight. Now, this is why one of the reasons why intermittent fasting is so helpful, because when you intermittent fast, you do things like, the most popular one is the 16-8 protocol, where you eat for 8 hours during an 8-hour window, like so from like noon to 8 p.m. or something like that. And then the rest of the time from 8 p.m. till noon the next day, you do not eat. You don't consume anything that's going to have calories or increase your insulin. The insulin part's important. I talked about it in another video. But anyway, so when you do that, your metabolism stays the same. And again, you will continue to lose weight indefinitely if that's your goal, if that's what you're trying to do. And you develop that metabolic flexibility, moving back and forth between fat and carbs as far as what your body uses for fuel. So this is why that kind of dieting actually works way better than just reducing your calories at each meal. The normal calorie restriction diet, this is one of the reasons they fail. It just doesn't work that way. And all these strategies you have for like getting full, eat something that fills you up and digest slowly so you don't feel hungry and all these things really are just trying to avoid the fact that you're going to have to adapt to a new way of eating. Now, if you haven't done intermittent fasting, one of the things that people find is, the first couple of weeks are kind of difficult because the ghrelin, which is the hormone that makes you feel hungry, is actually on a schedule. But it's a schedule you built. If you usually eat at a certain time, say you eat lunch at noon, ghrelin's going to kick in at about 11:30 every day like clockwork. Same thing for dinner, same thing for your snacks, all these things. Once you adjust to your new eating schedule, which can take a couple weeks, then you don't get hungry during those times. And so to implement that kind of eating schedule is you just have to be disciplined long enough for your internal clock to adjust. And if you do something different like I'm doing, where I fast once a week, take an entire day off, you will get that hunger during your scheduled times when you're used to eating. But you also psychologically realize that hunger is not, oh my God, I'm going to die. Hunger is just, this is when I normally eat. Okay. And you just move on. It becomes less important to you psychologically. And so you're not super stressed out about it. And again, also, you change your metabolic flexibility so you don't get hangry. So people aren't like, oh, you got to eat something because you're being a jerk. No, you're not being a jerk because your body can handle it. So that's why one of the other benefits of fasting is your metabolism. Keep your metabolism up. It will allow you to adjust your metabolic flexibility. It'll allow you to lose weight if that's one of your goals. Check with your physician. Say it again. And it just generally, and it has all the other health benefits I've talked about with the hormones and the autophagy and all those kinds of things. So one more reason why I like fasting, and usually recommend intermittent fasting to most people, but you can do what I do depending on what your goal is, because intermittent fasting will not give you the growth hormone spike or the autophagy that this more longer fast will. And those are my goals. My goal is not to lose weight. My goal is to increase growth hormone and autophagy and have that metabolic flexibility and have some self-discipline by teaching myself to do something that's a little bit difficult. So those are my goals. That's why I chose the type of fasting I'm doing. Assess your own goals and choose a fasting method if you want that works with those goals. So there you go. All right. Peace out, everybody.